In this video, I'm going to be making a 5mm flat band, medium weight, from this silver wire. The first step is going to be to mark the wire at 66mm, which is the length required to make it to a size 10. You just take your scribe and mark both lines. If this was gold, I would anneal it first, but because it is silver, this isn't necessary. Now you take your half-round pliers and you bend it into a round shape. Curl the end. This is relatively easy to bend. Now that it is formed quite well into a ring shape, I am going to cut at the lines and then bend it flush for soldering. And just a gentle up and down motion. The scraps are obviously melted down and reused. Now we go back to our half round and bend it so the ends come together flush. One thing I find quite helpful at this point is 3-jawed bow bending pliers, which you can use to get it perfectly flush. Now the join is together, but I like to saw through it just to make sure that there's no light peeking through whatsoever. This will help the solder flow better. Now we are going to solder. For soldering, I find the best sort of flame to use is a neutral flame. You want to just get rid of the color in the flame as soon as it's all solidly blue. You want to heat the piece evenly to burn off the flux, first of all. And with gold, you would then begin to heat the join, but with silver, it is necessary to heat the whole piece, and so we heat from the back. We begin to see a red glow. We melt our first piece of solder, simultaneously as we come in with our solder pick, heat it up. Then we drop that directly onto the join. And then we heat the join until the solder flows. Sometimes it needs a bit of coaxing with the solder pick. This is obviously hard solder. Then we turn it around, make sure the solder is flowed all the way. Sometimes what I will do to make sure the solder is flowed is ball up a second piece of solder and actually melt it onto the other side. As you can see, the solder has flowed, and now this is off to the pickle pot. Start on the inside. Until you just see that go away. You don't want to file too much, or you can end up with a thin spot. When you file the sides, be just as careful as you would when filing the inside. When filing the outside, don't just file at the spot. File evenly around the entire area around the soldered wire. Put the ring on your mandrel and put this into one of the holes on your bench. If you don't have a proper jewelry bench, that's okay. You can simply round it on your chest or your bench peg. Hit it evenly all around. Flip the ring around to make sure you avoid any tapering. Now we are going to sand the ring. Start with 320 grit. It will get rid of any scratches, any imperfections, and even out the surface. It is important to sand to get a good polish on the ring, as well as get rid of any fire scale that might have built up. To sand the edges of the ring, I simply take a piece of sandpaper, wrap it around my bench peg, place the ring on, and sand in a circle. You could do this on any flat surface. Now we come to sanding the inside of the ring. You can do this with a flex shaft, which is what I will be using. But if you do not have a flex shaft, you could use a round buff stick or even some sandpaper wrapped around a half-round file or even your finger. I'm just going to be using a flex shaft with a split mandrel. Again, start with 320 grit, get rid of the deep scratches, then move on to a 600. Okay. Now would be the time to stamp your ring for marking the metal's purity. Because this ring is sterling silver, I will be marking it as such. 925 sterling silver with this inside ring stamp. Make sure you line it up properly and then give it a hard whack. And that should mark it. And now it is simply time to polish. To polish the inside of the ring, I like to use these felt inside ring buffs. You can get them at any jewelry supply store for a polishing motor like this. If you do not have a polishing motor, you could always use your flex shaft or even a Dremel. And I would always recommend putting it in the tumbler when you're done, although this is not necessary. When polishing, make sure you have a good grip on your ring. Put it inside and just gently take it around the length of the felt buff. Even through the leather polishing guards, it can get quite hot. So I would always recommend having a dish of water beside to cool it. And just like that, we've done a tripoli on the inside of the band. And we can now move on to tripoli on the outside. Now we're going to be polishing the outside of the band, starting with the edges. When polishing the edges, make sure you have a very good grip because it's very easy to have the ring flung out of your hands. Grip it with one hand very strongly, and then with the other, drag it underneath like that. Being slow at this step can save you dozens of minutes scouring on the floor for a lost ring. Now we come to polishing the outside. Grip it like this, with the edge exposed, and then draw it along the polishing buff like this. This is the way that I find is most comfortable, but you can polish it any way you like. As you can see, it's shiny but a bit dull. I'm just going to do the exact same thing with my finishing compound of choice, which in this case is going to happen to be Jewellery Rouge. I will show you the ring when it's done. Okay, so here we are. After doing the Jewellery Rouge, it's still a bit dirty. I have to clean it. As you can see, every part of the ring is polished brightly.